CBS and the SBA will fight to the end and lead the way, yeah. Sing out together. These are sky blue days. These are sky blue days. The CBS and the SBA will fight to the end and lead the way, yeah. Sing out together. Sky Blue Fans TV, for the fans, by the fans.
A very good evening. Welcome to Sky Blue Fans TV on this very special edition we've got for you tonight. I've got some very special guests to introduce to you. None other than the legend Tommy Hutchison that we'll be introducing him very shortly. But also the guests we've got for you, we've got some super fans on tonight who's going to ask a few questions to Tommy. Ian Small is going to join us. Ian?
Good evening.
Good evening, Ian. I hope you've got a few questions for Tommy. I'm sure you have.
Yeah, I've got a few, yeah.
That's good. Welcome, mate. Welcome to Sky Blue Fans
Thank
TV.
You.
Martin Cadden, come in, please.
Hello. Good evening.
Hi, Martin, all right?
Yeah, good evening.
You okay? I'm sure you've got a few good questions for Tommy as well coming up. Welcome
Yeah,
to Sky Blue Fans TV. Miles,
Yeah,
Miles, our regular, is here as well. Miles?
Good evening. Hello, everyone. Whoa, what a special we've got going on.
Good evening, Miles. How are we?
Brilliant, mate. 3 points yesterday,
Good.
3
Welcome,
wins on the bounce.
always.
Have it. Come on.
I've also got the author of the book, Hutch. I've also got the the author of the book, Hutch. Kevin. Hi, mate. Kevin. Shannon, how you doing, mate? All right?
I'm fine, thanks. Thanks for having us on. Yeah, it's nice to meet you all.
Very much. Welcome to Sky Blue Fans TV.
Thank you very much.
And of course, we've got the legend himself, Tommy Hutchison, who we're going to introduce right now. Come in, Tommy.
How are you?
Evening, Tommy.
Good evening.
Hello, very good evening, Tom.
I can hear
How are
you.
we all?
I'm very well, thanks.
Yes, welcome to Sky Blue Fans TV, Tom. A very special edition we've got tonight for you. I'll just show you go through roughly how it's going to work. We've got a couple of fans who want to ask him questions, who are big fans of Tommy and seen him play over the years. I'm going to host the event. Miles is going to be there as well. We're going to call him in now and again. We've also got a competition to give away a signed copy of Tommy's book. He'll be in Coventry all next week signing copies of his book, Hutch. So we'll go into that a bit later as we move forward. But Tommy, let's start with you. Played 314 games for the Sky Blues between 1972 and 1981, scoring 24 goals.
Yes,
fantastic career you had. We all remember you, of course, for the infamous 1981 FA Cup final for Manchester City, when you scored at both ends. That was a big memory for me. I remember that cup final very well.
Wrong thing to say.
Kevin will tell you that's wrong.
Yeah, that's a mistake. Bad start.
That's your first mistake. They were
Go on,
both at
Tommy.
the same end.
Put him right. Put him right.
They were both at the same end.
Well, that's true. They were both at the same end. You're very right there, of course. But it was a fantastic cup final. I mean, I've got great memories of it, to be honest.
Yes, it was, yeah.
It was. It must have been heartache for you, of course, at the time. Scoring an own goal as well. You know, it's just one of those things, I suppose. We had it in '87 when I suppose Gary Mabbitt did the same thing, sort of thing, when Lloyd McGrath crossed it into the box and he deflected it into the net. So it's very similar. So, you know, it must be a bit of a heartache. We're going to start with the fans. We're going to go ask you a couple of questions. We're going to go to Ian first. Ian, have you got a couple of questions for Tommy?
I have, yeah. I'll try and keep them straightforward. It's a pleasure to talk to you, Tommy. I'm sure I speak on behalf of thousands of City fans that you gave great pleasure to over the years, mate. So thank you very much.
No, it's a pleasure.
In your years at Cov, Tom, who were the sort of 2 or 3 players that really stood out, other than yourself, of course, really stood out as being a bit special?
I think, well, when I first went there, they were all special. coming from Blackpool to the first division. But the one that stuck in my mind the most was Willie Carr.
Yeah.
Because Willie Carr was probably the one that fed me the ball more than anybody else. And over the years, I think we had quite a few good acquisitions from other clubs. Larry Lloyd, who did well when he came. Then he left. Barry Powell, who was in my roommate for a few years.
Yeah, very underrated, Barry Powell, I thought.
Yes, very much. But it was enjoyable. The thing is, when I went there, they were all good pros. You know, the thing you look for mostly when you go is not just the games; it's training as well. You know, and when you've got people like Roy Barry and Bill Glazier, people like that, Will Smith. You know, they were all good pros, and you know they kept you on your toes.
I didn't realise Roy Barry was still there when you arrived, Tom. He was awesome. He come from Dunfermline, didn't he, for 40 grand? I mean, he was awesome until he broke his leg. I was at the game Sheffield Wednesday when you could hear it all around the ground. It was sickening. The break, and I think he was booked on the stretcher as well by that Welsh referee. But Roy Barry was never the same after that. But the season we had him, I thought he was going to be an international player for years. He was brilliant player. Anybody else spring to mind, Tom?
Well, obviously, when I went there, I was with Colin Steen, who was tremendous. You know, and
you both signed at the same time, didn't you?
Obviously, later on, I had Ian Wallace and Fergie, Davy Cross, really good target men.
Yeah. Somebody you haven't mentioned, Tommy, but who you spoke to me an awful lot about is Terry Orrath. I know you rated him greatly, didn't you?
Yeah. When I was, in fact, when Terry signed, the day Terry signed, I think he signed at the same time as Ian Wallace, and I was away talking to Norwich about a move there. And when I come back, obviously the move fell through. And Ron Wiley says, "We didn't want you to go anyhow." So that was a pleasing thing. And again, with him coming into the side, it was ideal, very much like Jerry Gow was with me at Man City, is that you knew if Terry went into any tackles, he would shake something loose. You know, so I would pick up pieces of that. And again, he's probably the best player I've seen, that when he's not having a good game, he can still get other players to play.
It's interesting you say that, Tom, because Glenn Hoddle said exactly the same at Spurs. He said when Yoreth went there, he said he made me the player I was because he would do all the ugly work, give a little short pass, and away went Glenn to weave his magic. So it's a very, very similar story to you.
Cool.
Hello?
Is he gone?
Disappeared.
Right. Seems to have lost Tommy a little bit, yeah? Is he gone?
He has. He's disappeared. I don't know what happened. Hopefully he was plugging in his phone and everything. Oh.
He'll come back in a minute. I think he's just clicked. He's come out the stream. So should we carry on with Kevin?
Yeah, go on, Kev. I mean, tell us, Kev, how you got involved with the book and how did you compile the book, basically, about Tommy Hutch and what sort of relationship did you have with him to get all the information?
Okay. Do you want me to carry on or back to Tom?
I'm back.
You see, I mentioned Terry Yoreth and you disappeared.
Yeah, I thought he was at the door.
Thought he was snapping at your ankles.
Yeah. Oh no, I never snapped at mine.
No, not even in training.
But the thing is, even in training, you know, Terry was timid. He wasn't very similar to Jerry Gow. But when you got across the line on a Saturday, you knew it was game time.
Yeah. You're bringing back great memories for me because I used to watch them week in, week out in those days.
Yeah, it was very good.
I got another question for you before we move on to Martin. My only other one was, what was behind you actually leaving Coventry? Because I don't think, I mean, years give us dodgy memories, but I can't believe anybody was expecting it.
I think it was a big fee that they received, 47,000. I think what it was, that maybe the new viewers won't understand this, but in those days there was no freedom of contract, and if I'd been at the club more than 5 years and I was over 34, I was due. They had to let me go on a free transfer at the end of the season, and that's why I think that's why they just thought, well, if we can, whatever we get for them. Plus, I think I was sort of a makeshift add-on with Bobby McDonald going as well, because I honestly thought I would finish my career at Coventry.
I wish you would have. Okay, I'll listen to the other lads now then. Martin.
Yeah, I've got a question from my mum, actually, because she used to go out. Her husband was a postman at the Royal Mail, and they used to drink at the Stag pub in town. And she says all the Coventry players used to go in there, and I got all your signatures on a programme. I think.
Yeah, I think we went there. I think it was somebody. It might have been Mick Coop's testimonial, and I think we went there. It was a darts evening.
That's it. Yeah.
We went there, and I could remember signing autographs in there.
Yeah, because I've still got the programme that it's upstairs somewhere, locked in the attic.
Yeah.
But anyway, I remember you were just magic on the pitch, and I think the nearest thing to you since then, it's got to be Callum O'Hare. He really excites the fans like you used to. Got a big following as well. Like, do you watch the City now? Do you, Tommy?
I don't watch much football at all.
You don't?
No.
Oh, okay.
And when they come up with these stats on how many passes and how many,
I
watched a bit of the Swansea game today, and honestly, I could have cried. But the whole idea when I played was I was a winger. Is that if Willie Carr, who could find me for anywhere, if he can get the ball to me early, I can get at the fullback. Whereas now, if they change play nowadays, I watched Swansea today, they switched the play from one side of the pitch to the other side of the pitch to the other winger, and he passed it back to the fullback. And you're thinking, that. And I could remember when I played when Jimmy Holmes got in the team, and it was a bit, Jimmy gave me the ball, went on an overlap. And I said, no, Jimmy. Once you give me it, just back me up, but don't take my space that's in behind me. And he was a bit upset at the time, but I think he understood what I wanted.
Yeah. I mean, we had some ups and downs, like back in the day in the 70s,
Oh,
and,
yeah.
I remember one game, I think it was Swansea we were playing on a Saturday afternoon. You scored from a corner.
That'd be a mistake.
Yeah.
Because when I first started, I couldn't reach for a corner.
I remember I was in that Cop End that day, and I remember it going in, and the atmosphere was jam packed them days, and the atmosphere.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And
my mum.
What the fan? I don't think the fans understand that I got as much entertainment as they did.
Yes.
I really enjoyed playing, and it is a big thing that you do miss when you do finish. And I think that's why I held on for his. I never ever wanted to finish and think, I could have played for another season. I never. When I finished, my body was telling me I was finished.
Yeah.
And it was 46.
46.
According to Wikipedia, Ken said you played 314 games for Coventry. But according to Wikipedia, you've played 355 games and scored 30 goals. Is that right?
Yes.
Probably club games.
It's over 350.
Yeah. You had 17 caps for Scotland when you played for Coventry.
Yes, and again,
Yeah.
that was one of those games. If you'll probably
Yeah.
remember, we beat Liverpool 1-0, and I scored the goal.
Yeah.
And at that game, strangely enough, there was a scout watching the game for Scotland, and that's one of the selectors was at the game, and that's why. And I think maybe because Colin Steen was there as well, that they come to look at Steenie as well, because we both got picked to play against Czechoslovakia. But Colin, if you can remember, he did his ankle against Newcastle, I think it was, on the Saturday, and we couldn't go on the Monday with me.
Oh, that was good then. Yeah, well, so we're going to ask. I can't remember. Jim, do you remember Jim Alton? Do you? He played in the same team.
Yeah, big Jim. No, he's another one. He'd kick one on Saturday. Oh, nightmare. But see him training and everything. He'd say, gentle, you don't need to be tackling in this. But I always trained the same way as I played, so it didn't matter.
Yeah. He used to run. He actually ran that Stag pub, didn't he? He was the manager, wasn't he? There.
Yes,
yeah,
he took
in the Rising Sun. Yeah.
Tommy, I got a thing just crossed my mind. I remember when you first signed. Now, I don't know how true this is. It's a long time ago. But they said, I know you were talking about stats and stuff, but they said there was a record number of fullbacks booked in one season for fouling you.
I think
it was something stupid, like 14 or something. It
was something like the first 9 fullbacks I played against for the Sky Blues. They all got booked.
Yeah. Couldn't cope with you.
Oh, yeah, they used to, because you had quick feet. They didn't like it, did they?
but you could, and I couldn't win because if I got up straight away, I was faking it.
Yeah.
And if I lay down on the ground and rolled a lot, I was faking that as well. So Tommy Smith was the one, and he sort of half clipped me, and I went down, and he says, "You'll feel the next one."
What about Wallace and Fergie? I mean, Ian Wallace, he was a
great player,
and they scored other goals from your crosses, didn't they? Mainly.
Yeah, but I mean, for to be so small, Ian Wallace was so brave, you know, and you knew any type of cross, anything to the back post was going to be for Mick Ferguson. Anything near post would be Wally, and he'd be there he'd be banging into the keeper or centre half. He gave them torrid times. It was the same but fair play to him. It was the same in training, you know. He took it. We were lucky in that sense that the clubs that I've been with, that the training's been spot on. The coaches that have taken them, like Ron Wiley, was different class. If it hadn't been done right, it's not getting done at all.
Yeah. What was Gordon Milne like as a manager?
Well, Gordon took me there because I'd played with him at Blackpool, and again, a good pro. I was being brought up with like players like him and Jimmy Armfield, Glenn James, you know, all players that were good professionals. And again, I started with Bob Stocco there. It was Stan Watson at first, and then Bob Stocco. And again, the training had to be spot on. Yeah,
and my mum's asked me. She's 82 now, and she's asked me a question. She says, "Do you remember the mighty win?" I don't know what she means by it. But
Win Davis?
Yeah.
It could be,
Win Davis is on about?
It could be. I don't know.
He's the only one I could think of, the only win Davis. Centre forward, Welsh lad.
Yeah. Oh.
And no relation, but there was a Ron Davis as well down at the Saints, wasn't there?
Yes.
Yeah.
But if it's Win, he's the one that's... Did he go to Newcastle as well?
Yeah.
Because I can remember him playing against... I could remember him playing against us, and I could remember looking back at Glenn James, and he looked as if he'd done 10 rounds with Brian London, because his head, he's going up for headers. He was all arms, and he was really fierce, you know. So I was glad I wasn't doing much heading.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, Tommy, we've had a couple of questions come in from our listeners. Kenneth Tomer asked, as a player, if you could have a career again, would you prefer to play under the modern football culture and methods, or would you prefer it in your days as it was?
I wouldn't swap what I had. Through the 70s and 80s, I think that was the best players as homegrown. Now the majority of them are foreign, whereas before they were Irish, Scottish.
Yeah.
Every team had a couple of Scots in them and Irish. And I think the one thing I would have is the pitches that they're playing on nowadays.
Yeah.
The pitches, the ball.
Yeah.
The ball would be a different kettle of fish as well. And
Apart from the
you played on some bad pitches, didn't you, over the years?
Oh, they were shocking. Well, your season was built up over the year. At the start of the season, the groundsman would leave the grass pretty long, so that it wouldn't wear. But the ball would stick in it. It was hard. It wouldn't roll. And then you had the summer, when it got to about Easter, then you had the hard, dry grounds where just a diamond up the middle, wasn't there? There was just a little bit of grass on the corners, especially places like Derby County, which was a mud bath. and then you've got the snow and the frost in the winter. So you're having to play to win the league. That's why it was so difficult, I think, to win the first division, because you had to adapt to all the different pitches that you were playing on.
Yeah.
And again, in those days, I could remember, because we actually did it when I was at Blackpool. They weren't allowed to water the grass. They weren't allowed to water them before the game, because I could remember Bob Stokoe getting the fire brigade in during the night to water the pitch, so it would be nice and slick for the next day.
Fire brigade.
Now, you mentioned Blackpool there, because obviously you started at Alloa way back in 1965. Moved on to Blackpool. How did the move from Blackpool to Coventry come about? Did you know about it beforehand, or did you get inklings about it?
I got tapped up. Gordon Milne, Tom White was actually playing at Swansea at Blackpool at the time, and of course we had no telephones in the house or anything like that, or mobiles. And I got a phone call from I went in for training, and Tom White says, you've got to phone Gordon Milne. So I had to go down to a phone box and phone Gordon up, and he just asked me if I fancied going to Coventry. Ron, at the time, Tony Green had just gone to Newcastle, and Newcastle wanted to sign the both of us, but they didn't have the money. They'd just signed Supermac and Tony, which was 100. Tony was over 100 grand as well. And Bob Stokoe says to me, he says, look, he says, Tony's gone because at this moment in time, he's got more of an end product than you, which obviously I knew that, but I worked on that from then on. But he says, if you hang on, I'll be going up north, he says, and I'll come for you. And I says, and I got on great with Bob Stokoe, and I says, look, Bob, boss, I would never called him Bob, is anything, I could break my leg next week, I says, and then I'm getting the chance to play in the first division. And I knew I was going to Gordon, that was the main thing, so that was a safe bet for me. Because when I was at Blackpool, did you have a most memorable game at Highfield Road? I'm sure you had a few good memories. Highfield, I think we went through a terrible spell one year, and we couldn't score goals. And I scored a wonder goal against, I think it was Birmingham City. I come inside and laced it in the top corner, which was unlike me. And I think that those ones, and obviously the Bristol City game, that was a one to keep us up.
Oh yes, I think
But
a lot
the
of us
best-
remember that.
Best goal I ever saw you score,
Yeah, exactly.
Tommy, was down at Highbury.
Yes, that was definitely.
That was out of this world, and I was lucky enough to be there.
Yeah.
It was.
And he hasn't got grey hair either.
Wow.
That goal actually features in a best-selling novel, which is unusual for a Coventry player to feature. But I've forgotten the name of the guy now. The guy who wrote Fever Pitch.
Nick Hornby.
No.
Nick Hornby, yeah, Nick Hornby. So Tommy's
Oh, yeah.
goal actually features in Fever Pitch. He talks about it and what a good goal it was, but also the fact that he was so angry that the Coventry fans were celebrating around him. He was only a 15-year-old, Nick Hornby at the time.
Actually, a lot of the Gunners applauded that goal.
Yeah, well, if you look
They
at the
actually
little
clapped.
clip, if you look at the little clip that's on YouTube, you can actually see behind the goal as Tommy wheels away that they are applauding. There are people that are applauding. Yeah.
Yeah, but in those days, I could remember even playing at Anfield and places. If you did play well, they did applaud you. They didn't. It wasn't all hatred all the time, you know.
I say that is different to today. I don't think that would happen.
Oh no, you wouldn't get.
What
that.
about your international? Tell me about your international cap, because you played in. Tell me
Pardon?
about the World Cup 1974, because you played in that, didn't you? Or you
Yes.
played part of the squad?
Yeah, that the problem I had with that was that leading up to that, before we had the home internationals, I'd played against Czechoslovakia home and away. Then I'd played in all the build-up games up until the home internationals was on, and then I got injured again. Well, I never got injured. The lad went over the top to me against Wales, and I had forced 5 stitches put on my shin. And I went in, and now when I played, I had more stitches than that in my shin when I played for Coventry against Burnley, and I came back on. But the little dot that was with the Scottish squad, he wasn't very good, and he was all that's him. You need to get the sub on, and I'm saying no, I'll just stitch it up or put some butterfly clips in it or something. But he never, and I didn't. It went septic, and by the weekend we were playing England at Hampden on the Saturday, and I missed that game, and they won that game. And then we were going to the World Cup, and then I wasn't picked in the team then, you see, because they wouldn't change the winning team.
It was Peter Lorimer, wasn't it, Tommy, that took your place?
Yeah, Peter Lorimer came on and played him as a right winger, because in those days I was playing left side midfield.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
it was a great.
I was going to ask. Yeah. I was going to ask Kevin.
Yep.
About your book. We were speaking before we lost Tommy earlier.
Okay.
Briefly. I was going to ask about the book and how you became involved in the book and what got you to do it, basically.
Okay. Well, I retired. It must be three years ago now, and approaching retirement, I looked at things that I wanted to do to keep myself active. I decided I was going to have a go at learning French. I've had a go at that. I was going to try and learn the Irish tin whistle. That hasn't happened yet. And the third thing was I wanted to write a book.
That's a blessing.
Well, if you hear me play, Tommy, he certainly is. Yeah. I wouldn't want to listen to me playing the tin whistle. But the third thing was writing the book. So I love reading, and it was going to be a challenge. So. But if you're going to write a book, you got to know what you're going to write about. And so I couldn't even write about football in general, really. One of my sons says that I know nothing about football. I only know about Coventry City. And that's probably true. And it always amazed me, really, that we've had books about various Coventry players, over the years. But the guy that is generally acknowledged as our best ever player, and certainly my favourite ever player, which is Tommy, has never had a book written about him. So I contacted Jim Brown, who is a renowned writer of Coventry books, and said, was he contemplating writing about Tommy? And he said no, that he doesn't really write about individual players anyway. So I wasn't surprised at that. And then after that, I said, well, would he put me in contact with Tommy, or at least contacting himself and see, was he interested in having the book done? So that's what he did. He contacted Tommy. Tommy said yes, he was interested. So then he passed Tommy's number on to me, and I phoned him up, and we had a fairly quick conversation really about what we would do. At the time, COVID had just started, and so there was no prospect of meeting up. But it did give me a chance to do a fair bit of research before meeting up. But in September of last year, my wife and myself decided that we'd have a holiday in Fife, which is where Tommy is. And the real reason for going up there was actually to spend the week talking to him. So that's what we did. I have to say, I've not spoken to Tommy about it really, but it was quite strange because we were staying in a place called Burnt Island, which is on the Fife coast, and it's a place that Tommy knew well. Actually, I found out later. But he lived not too far away, and we'd arranged that he was going to meet me. He was going to meet me, and he was going to pick me up. So I was stood outside this place we were staying at, and I think it was quite nerve-wracking, really. I don't know, probably not for Tommy, but it was for me, because I was going to meet this guy that, you know, I'd seen do his job of work hundreds of times, you know, but I'd never ever met him. I'd only spoke to him briefly on the phone, and he was meeting this guy that he'd never met before in his life. So, and he didn't know, you know, what I was going to be like, really. So anyway, Tommy rolled along in his car. He saw me standing there, so I got in, and that was it, really. And as soon as I got in, I have to say that I felt at ease. I'd hoped it'd just be sort of two old blokes talking. Okay,
yeah,
and that's what it was, really. So, and after that, we had Tommy took me on a tour of the village where he had.
Okay, I've got a question from your son, actually. He's just sent a message in for us.
Yeah.
What was your favourite part of the book? What was your favourite Arden coat?
My favourite part of the book. The bit, I suppose, that the funniest part of the book, I suppose, and I won't spoil it. I won't tell you what the story is. The funniest part of the book, I think, is Tommy has a story about the chimney sweep who used to come and sweep the chimneys of the houses in the village of Dundonald, where he used to live, where he was born and brought up. What was his name, Tommy? I've forgotten his name. What was the name of the chimney sweep? Can you hear? Oh, maybe you can't. I can't remember the name of the guy anyway. But the story that Tommy told me there is very similar to one of the Only Fools and Horses episodes with the chandelier. I won't say any more than that, but it was that was the funniest thing. The nicest thing wasn't actually part of the story. At the back of the book, there's a series of tributes from people, fans of the clubs that Tommy played for, but also people who worked with him when he was working as a football development officer. One of the tributes there is from a lady called Mandy Gardner, and Mandy worked with Tommy in Bristol. And he was invited to come back to Coventry. I think they must have been playing Bristol City probably. So he's invited to come back to Coventry, and he invited Mandy and her husband to travel up with him. Now, Mandy knew that he'd been a footballer. She knew that he'd been a successful footballer, but she didn't know really about his connection with Coventry. So they rolled up. I think it must have been during the Rico days. So they were rolling into the car park. Tommy there with Mandy and her husband. And a policeman stopped them there, and Tommy went down the window and said to the policeman, "Oh, can you tell me where to park, please?" And the policeman turned to him and said, "Mr. Hutchison, as it's you," he says, "you can just park anywhere you want." He says, which I thought was lovely. You know, a story like that coming from the. And Mandy Gardner said that the whole evening was just a real eye opener, because everywhere that he went, You know, there were people just coming up to him and shaking his hand and telling him, you know, how wonderful it had been to watch him play and what a great player he'd been. You know, they never had to buy a drink all night. They never had to buy any food all night. Everything was just laid on. And she realised then just what a special character that Tommy is in Coventry. So that was lovely, really. I really liked that part.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. And did you, obviously you've got a lot of book signing events coming up in Coventry in the next week. We'll go through them in a bit later on. Yeah. Where you're actually going to be. Have you done any more books, or is that the only book you've done? What other books have you done? What other footballers have you done? Have you done any?
No. Tommy was the first, and he's probably going to be the only one. In fact, I was lucky really because Jim Brown put me in touch with his publishers, and they were asking me, you know, could I give them any samples of work that I'd done? Well, I had written an article for a magazine. When Saturday Comes is a magazine that I read, and I'd written an article for that, inevitably about Coventry. It was about ourselves being shifted off to Northampton during that time. So I'd written an article about the situation and about us being marooned in Northampton, and that was the only thing that I'd ever had written and published. So I actually had to send off some of the little stories that I'd written for kids when I was teaching them in school. I used to be a teacher, you see. So I'd actually sent off some of the little stories that I'd written, such as My Dog Guinness and things like this. So I'm not sure what the publishers thought about getting these little stories, but whatever it was, whether they felt sorry for me or whatever, but they said, "Oh, okay, you know, we'll take you on," and they agreed that we could have the book published. So yeah, but I don't think there's going to be any more at the moment. Anyway, I don't think so. I might change my mind, but at the moment, it looks like a one-off.
What do you think of Coventry's new kit?
Do you watch football?
What do you think of Coventry's new kit this season? Coventry's new home kit this season. What do you think, Tommy?
Oh, Tommy will like that, won't he?
Yeah.
What do you think of the new kit, Tommy?
I think he must have his mute on.
Has he got the mute on?
I think he must have.
Yeah.
Tommy, are you with us? Can you hear us? He might have the mute button on, but I'm sure.
I think he's turned it down.
That we've got. While we thought Tommy's mute button out, he might be on mute, possibly. I was going to ask Kevin again. Now, one of your book signing things is a walking football. Tell us about walking football. Are you into the walking football?
Walking football is a joy. It is absolutely fantastic. You know, I couldn't praise it enough on a lot of levels, really. I've been going to Sky Blues and the community football for the past 5 years now. When I stopped playing, I was in my 30s. I was playing Sunday League football, and there were occasions when I'd dream at night that I was playing football, and I'd wake up and I'd think, I'd had a wonderful dream about playing football again, and then the reality was that I was 40 years old or I was 50 years old, and I was never going to play again. Well, when I got to 60, I started to play, and it is absolutely fantastic. Wow. It is great. It's great because you're exercising. It's great because you're playing football again, and it's competitive. And it's great because the group of blokes that you're mixing with, they're just wonderful as well. You know, it's such a friendly group that I go to. It's Sky Blues in the community. It's on at the Sphinx Club, and it's on Mondays and Thursdays. So yeah, it's absolutely great. If anybody is thinking of doing it, then
Tom can't hear us.
I would do it. I would take it up.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I mean, that's one of your book signing sessions, isn't it? That's on at the Sphinx.
Yeah, that's a highlight really.
Sphinx Club, 11:45 to 12:30.
Yeah. Tommy's down next weekend, so he's arriving next Friday. He's doing various things over the weekend, which I can tell you about if you want me to. But on the Monday, he's actually coming along to Walking Football. Walking Football is run by Dave Bennett as well. So there's a Coventry right winger there, cup winner there, and Tommy's actually going to join in. He's going to play. He's going to face. He told me that he's not kicked a ball for 10 years. But he's actually playing on that Monday. So on that Monday, we'll have the best left winger that's ever in Coventry.
That is
Well, the best
a
right
sensational pairing, isn't it? Benno on the right and Hutchie on the left. Crikey.
But they both actually played together.
Brilliant, yeah.
That 81 Cup final for Man City.
Yeah.
Dave Bennett played.
They did. I was going to ask the question
yeah.
about that.
Yeah,
he did.
Ben, Tommy can't hear us.
Tommy can't hear us still.
Where's
Yeah,
Sam?
we're going to have to try and maybe get hold of Tommy because he's obviously got on the mute button. Maybe he can't hear us. We've got a technical difficulty with Tommy trying to hear us. Can you hear us at the moment, Tom? No. I don't know whether you can get someone to speak to him, Kev. Maybe he's got his mute button on or something. I don't know. Possibly.
Yeah. I'll pass his phone number to. Well, I've got your email.
Yeah. What we'll do, we'll have a short break. We'll put an advert on. We'll do a little trail. We'll have a short break and we'll come back. And we'll see him get Tommy back. We're going to play a little advert now, and then we'll come back.
All right.
Join us again.
These are sky blue days. These are sky blue days. The CBS and the SBA will fight to the end and lead the way. Sing out together. Sky Blue Fans TV, for the fans, by the fans. These are sky blue days. These are sky blue days. The CBS and the SBA will fight to the end and lead the way. Sing out together. Sky Blue Fans TV, for the fans, by the fans.
Good evening. Welcome back to Sky Blue Fans TV again. We've lost connection with Tommy, unfortunately, at the moment. We're going to try and reconnect him very shortly. In the meantime, Miles is going to come on and announce the competition. We've got a signed book to give away of Tommy Hutchison's. He's going to sign it for you. We're going to give it away to a lucky fan. Miles has got... Go on, Miles.
Yeah, it's a good show so far. Shame we've lost connection, but we'll get that back up from running for us all anyway. So it's great interest in listening to Kevin and Tommy there. But yeah, a little competition for you all. So if you're all watching, you can enter the competition, but you've got to watch this video. So pass on the message to all your friends. Give us a like and subscribe. But the question is, what club did the Sky Blues sign Tommy Hutchison from? For a chance to win a signed copy of his book. All you got to do is answer that question and send it to one of our following social medias, which is on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or our email at skybluefanstv@gmail.com. So the question again is, what club did the Sky Blues sign Tommy Hutchison from? And that's for your chance to win a signed copy of the book. So you can enter that again via our Facebook page, like and subscribe, Instagram, same there, Twitter, and the email at skybluefanstv@gmail.com. So yeah, give us a go, get in touch with us, and you never know, you might win the signed copy of the book. I just want to say, Ken, it's absolutely intriguing how, say Tommy Hutchison, I think he was coming to the end of his career at the Sky Blues when I went to see him, which was back in the 80s. I think my first game was Swansea, if I remember right. So I only seen him for a short time, but it's absolutely fantastic to hear him talking about the past and about the players that he's played with. I mean, it's superb, isn't it?
Yeah, he looks so well as well. You know, he talks so well and is very, very well. And a lot of people respect him out there in the game. He was a fabulous player back then, you know, and if only we had sort of that sort of players these days. We don't get many, unfortunately, like that. But as you say, he was a tremendous player for us. I only seen a bit of his career, his early part of his career. I was only young. Back in the late 70s, early 80s, I've seen a few games. So I remember him playing with Terry Yoris, etc. So I do remember him, and he was a fabulous player. And, you know, it brings back a lot of memories for me, even though I only seen a couple of years of him. It was fantastic.
Do you know, Miles, I think the only player that has put a City shirt on that had anything like the balance Tommy had was Peter Unlove.
Mm.
And he was still nowhere near what Tommy gave us, but he was the only one I think that came close.
You timed that just right there, Ian, because Tommy's back, look.
Oh, there he is.
Heard that one. Can you hear us now, Tommy?
I'm not sure he can.
Oh.
I've sent you his number, so if you
wanted
to call him, then you could maybe talk him through getting back on.
Okay, I'll do that now. I'll go off and I'll give him a call.
We'll get Miles. Yeah, we'll get Miles to sort that out. In the meantime, I say we have got a competition to win a signed book. The question, if you missed it earlier, the question Miles just read out is what club did Tommy sign from for the Sky Blues? Who did we sign him from? Which we've talked about earlier. So if you were listening, you would have got the answer. If you just send it on his email or any of our social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter or Facebook, send us your details with your answer and you're going to a draw to win a signed copy of the book. Now, let's just go through the book signing days, Kev.
Okay.
I know you were talking briefly. So you've got your first one on the Friday, the 28th of October. Is that right? The Jag Social Club? Question and answer.
It's going to be at the Jag Club at 7:30. Tommy's going to be there with Barry Powell. So Barry Powell was a big pal of his at Highfield Road, and he also played with him at various other places as well. So that should be good. I'm sure they'll have a lot of laughs together. It's going to be compared by Billy Bell.
I'm sure it would.
I think Dean Nelson is going to be there with some of his clips of Tommy as well. So it should be a good night. And obviously, people can buy the book there as well. So if they want a copy, Tommy and myself are selling the book together. So you can buy a copy for £20 over that weekend, as opposed to £25 in Waterstones or Amazon or whatever.
It is available on Amazon, is it, Kevin?
Oh, it is.
Yeah, because I live overseas, so I'll need to get it. Other methods. Yeah.
All right. Well, so that's the first one of those. On the Saturday morning, we have
got one at Waterstones, then, haven't you?
That's Waterstones. Yeah, Waterstones at 9:15 to 10 o'clock. Those are. Those are Waterstone's own copies, so those will be £25 on that occasion. We then back up to the arena, into the club shop, and from 11 till 11:45, we'll be in the club shop selling the book there, and people can have their autographed copy of the book and a picture with Tommy if they want as well. And as you've seen tonight, he's a really affable, friendly chap. If anybody's got a memory of it or anything, he'd be able to have a chat with them as well. It's then into the game. Tommy's in the corporate areas then. He's a guest of the Former Players Association, so he'll be around the lounges during the game. And again, there'll be a chance to buy a book in there. At the end of the game, it's into the casino, and once again, have a chance to have a signed copy of the book there. Decided to give Tommy the Sunday off. I think he'll need it after signing. We've got 300 plus books to sign, so he'll need a rest anyway. And then on the Monday is the one that I'm really looking forward to, because I never thought I'd ever have a chance to play either for or against Tommy Hutchison. So then Tommy very kindly has agreed to come out of retirement and and join in with a walk-in football session at Sphinx on that Monday, which is Monday, October the 31st.
Well, I'm sure we'll have some video footage of that somewhere along the line.
Yeah, I think Sky Blues and the community are actually going to have their media people down there. But, it's a unique occasion, I suppose, to see the best Coventry left winger ever playing alongside or even against the best Coventry right winger ever in Dave Bennett as well. And I know Tommy's looking forward to meeting up with Dave. Dave knows that Tommy's coming as well. I think he's a bit apprehensive about what Tommy might say about him and everything, because I think he knows he's going to get his leg.
I'm going to ask Tommy now. Tommy, you back with us? You back with us, Tom? Can you hear us?
He was.
Have we lost him again? Have we lost Tom again?
Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah, I think we've lost Tommy again. I was going to ask him about.
Well,
technology these days, isn't it? I was going to ask him about Dave Bennett myself.
Yeah. Well, he can tell you now, hopefully.
Hello, Tommy.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, Tommy.
We can hear you loud and clear.
Very
I don't know what
good.
happened there. We had a few technical issues, but you're back with us.
Yes, it's these Scottish Betamax phones.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I don't know whether it was our end or your end or whatever, but you're back with us now anyway.
Can I ask him that question?
I was just going to have a quick question, and then we'll bring Martin in.
Yes, no problem.
Dave Bennett. Tell me about Dave Bennett and your memories with Dave Bennett, playing with him.
His brother was a good player. Yeah, Dave. In those days, he was called Shaft because of the hair, because of the hairdo and everything. And he was always, fair play to him, he was always smartly dressed and slick and shiny shoes on his feet. So he did take a bit of ribbon from the lads.
Tommy, I have to say that the frizzy hair is long gone.
Oh,
it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
I seen it last week. Yeah, Tommy, you know the new kit this season that we wear at home? Yeah, the kit that we wear at home. What do you think to it, our new kit?
Very good.
It takes you back, doesn't it? Apart from the shorts, it's got the lines.
Yeah, it doesn't have the lines on the shorts, but it's still a nice kit. But I still like the old kit. You know, the one with just the badge and the crew neck, the one he's got on.
That's
and the crew neck. Yeah. That was and the black and green one. I think we played against Chelsea with that.
Yeah.
That was the only time we'd wear that.
Did you
the picture of you?
Did you ever keep any of your old? Yeah, I was going to ask, do you ever keep any of your old shirts?
No, I didn't. Well, I could remember when we played for Scotland. Kenny Dalglish, after the game at Hampden when we qualified, he wanted Dennis Law's shirt.
Yeah.
And the lads, he said, because you had a long sleeve shirt and a short sleeve shirt for your choice. And Dennis gave him the shirt that he'd been wearing because he wanted the one, because he always held his cuffs with his sleeve. And the kit man said, no, they need to come back. And you were only allowed the one shirt. And Dennis Law says to him, I'll buy you a set of them if you want. But he definitely wouldn't give Kenny the shirt.
Tommy, tell them about Kenny Dalglish and your dad and your shirt from the Scotland game, from the Czechoslovakia game.
After the game, obviously we were celebrating in the bar and everything. And when I came back out, my mum got all my shirts. I gave it to my dad, and just as he says, "Oh, thanks," and we went down and we got on the bus. As we got on the bus, Kenny says to me, "Is that your shirt he's got on?" I says, "That's my dad's." He says, "Tell him to get it off." He says, "They'll slaughter him to get a hold of that." Of course, my dad was nobody. He had it round his shoulders and proud as punch.
He was doing it. He was doing a jig, wasn't he, on the steps? You said.
Yeah, he was doing a jig on his
Highland fling.
Yeah, so it was not being a Fifer, not used to the big cities. That was the problem. But I can assure you, they wouldn't have got it off his back.
So Tommy's shirt is actually his first club was Dundonald Bluebell, club he played for before he signed for Alaba, and it was a place that we went to visit. So Tommy took me around Dundonald, a mining village, or former mining village. Tommy's dad, like my dad, was a miner, was a coal miner. So that was something that we had in common. Really, I could really emphasize with his story about his dad. But Dundonald Bluebell is still there. They have the clubhouse. So Tommy took me into the clubhouse to meet the guy who was there and to have a chat with him. And Tommy was talking away to the chap. So I had a wander around. I was really pleased to see there's pictures of Tommy up there in his Coventry kit as well. That was really good. But one of the highlights in that club is that Tommy has donated that first Scottish shirt that he wore to Dundonald, and it's hanging up on the wall in Dundonald Bluebell Social Club. There's a really good story about playing on the Dundonald pitch, Moorside pitch. But again, I won't spoil it because again, it's just a lovely story of the way that Tommy knows what I'm talking about. The way that
definitely.
I've
still got the scars for it as well.
You're talking about some of the pitches in the 70s. Well, I think that one takes the biscuit, really. If you read the book, you'll know what we're talking about. So.
Is it true,
Fantastic
Tommy?
memories. I was going to ask you. Obviously, you went.
Sorry.
When you left Coventry, Sorry, Ian. Go ahead. Go on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, is it true that you didn't play much at school?
I never played at school.
I find that incredible.
Wow.
Incredible.
Yeah. Never stopped playing in the streets, but no, I couldn't get in the school team. But the thing was, I think I must have been from 10 upwards before going up to the top school. I really stretched lengthwise, but the filling wasn't so good. The filling wasn't so good, and I used to ask.
You'd have got in the Brazil team, wouldn't you, Tommy?
Yeah, I asked them if I could take the ball to the corner of the section, to the edge of the box when I was taking corners, but they wouldn't allow it because I couldn't reach.
So you genuinely only really started playing organised football when you were about 16, 15?
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
I find that incredible.
It was a lad that run a team called Siswo, worked with my dad in the pits, and he says, "This time play for anybody?" He says, "No," and I went up and played, and I played there for a year or so.
Tommy hasn't mentioned it, but one of the things that I found really, I suppose, remarkable about his story is that despite the fact that he never got in his school team, never played for his school team, didn't think he was good enough, is that he still believed all the way. I don't know from what age, from infant age really, that he was going to play for Scotland, even when he didn't play in the school team. He still believed that he was going to get. He was going to get that blue shirt. That's right, Tommy.
I just felt if I got proper training, and not so much coaching, because it wasn't so much coaching then in those days. It was there were trainers rather than coaches. There was nothing. A right winger had number 7 on his back, and the left winger had number 11 on his back. Everybody knew where everybody should be. You know, if I was on the other wing, they'd be saying, "What is he doing over there? He's got 11 on his back. Get him back over there." So that was it. And the whole reason that, I couldn't reach the centre of the goals with a corner kick with my right foot, and they played me on the left winger as a left winger because that's the person that did turn up that afternoon. Was they asked me if I would go along and get my boots and play, and that's how I first started, and that's how I played on the left wing.
That was for Dundonald Bluebell, wasn't it, Tommy?
That was for the Bluebell, yeah.
Yeah.
My uncle was one of the selectors, and he says,
"Dan, played in the streets."
Because I was only a football pitch away from him for the actual football pitch. I was only about 6 houses down.
Because you played in the streets as a kid, that made you very streetwise, and that's the sort of players that come from Brazil, you know.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing was, I was at a Highland Games thing. I got in. asked to go along to it in the summer there. And it was me and Billy Johnson were asked because it was all the people that were famous from the villages. And the two of us went, and there was a lad come to us and he says, "What's the chances of that happening? Two lads from the same village, both left wingers, both played for Scotland, both went to the same school at the same time," which is unbelievable for a little village. You know, two left wingers and both played.
That's Willie Johnson, the old West Brom winger.
Yes, yeah. He was on about. I was chatting to him the other week there about it, and he was on about when he was at West Brom and Big Ron. He got on all right down there. Yeah,
had a good side in those days with Lenny Cantello, another Scots lad, ace of half.
Yeah. He's still a big Palestinians. I think they go on trips to all over to supporters clubs, and they get wined and dined everywhere they go. But they're I think they work on match days as well in the lounges.
That's at Rangers, isn't it, Tommy?
Yeah.
Big Ron ended up at Coventry.
Talk about coincidences, Tommy. Wasn't there something in the fact that Ferguson, Steen and Shankly all came from within 10 miles of each other?
Yeah. Well, it's like
three
the
greatest
Celtic
managers.
team. It was like the Celtic team. They were all from Glasgow that won the European Cup.
Yeah.
They all come from Glasgow. So
That seems to have changed, doesn't it? The fact that there were so many Scottish players when you played. I mean, when you came down to Coventry, there was Alderson, Carr, Roy Barry, Colin Steele joined the week before. There was 4 or 5 Scots players.
Then Blythe.
Yeah, Jim Blythe too. That seems to have changed now. That there's not so many Scots.
Yeah, I could remember way back. They said that they don't even, the English teams don't even have scouts in Scotland now.
No.
But
just before Tommy came, we had a complete forward line of Scottish players.
That's right. Yeah, I remember that.
Hannigan Gibson, Martin Carr Baker.
Yes. Yeah.
There's
a famous picture of.
You can remember Ian Wallace and players like that as well. There's a lot of Scottish players over the years.
Yeah.
Jim Alton.
Yeah. Big Jim. Yeah.
There don't seem to be that many. I'm just going to read a couple of Ken Tomo has just come on. You know, you were one of the first players to be in the Panini sticker books. Apparently, did you know that?
No. I know we used to.
Yeah,
everybody
apparently.
used to have them.
They cost you a lot of money. He said. He said it cost him a lot of pocket money. He kept buying all these stickers.
He had to chew a lot of chewing gum.
You used to spend our dinner money on stickers.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. We a load of doubles. Those all seemed to be a load of doubles, didn't there?
Yeah.
There was always rare ones as well, wasn't there? That you couldn't get hold of. You had to keep buying packets of them to try and get the one that you couldn't get.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep buying it till you get them. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit. We're running a little bit behind schedule, but tell us a little bit about Hong Kong, because you went to Hong Kong, didn't you? After you left Manchester City, you went to Hong Kong to play. Did you enjoy your time out there on the pitch, or were you homesick? Did you get on with the language out there? How was it in Hong Kong?
No, they understood the language pretty well. The Chinese, they knew me pretty well. The funny thing was Ron Wiley, who was obviously my coach at Coventry. It was after you beat us in the cup at Man City, when I think it was Bodak chipped Big Joe.
Peter Bodak, yes. What a goal that was!
And you beat us in the cup. And after the game, Ron Wiley asked me if I'd like to go to Hong Kong because he was going out there. And anybody else, I wouldn't have gone. But I knew that if Ron goes, everything would be kosher, everything would be spot on. And I went out there and I enjoyed it. I found it a bit difficult at first because you only play in one stadium, the National Stadium. And when you go to the games in the afternoons, it's not so bad at night, but the humidity is unbelievable. It's like going into an oven. And we used to, if we were going shopping with the wife or the kids or that, we used to go in and out the big shops to get the air conditioning because you couldn't walk any distance. It was that bad. But they used to go, the club van used to pick us up.
Yeah.
It was air conditioned and everything, but they used to pick us up at the hotel because we stayed in the Holiday Inn, and they would pick us up, and they would go in shorts and t-shirt, and that was it. Flip-flops on your feet or your trainers. And first couple of games I went and and I'm thinking, this isn't right. It looked a bit silly for me. And I can remember coming home and I said to Irene, I'm not going like that to a game again. I just don't feel as if I'm going to play. I don't feel as if I'm going to work. I says, I feel as if I'm just going training. So from then on, I wore a shirt and tie and a suit or jacket and trousers. But I always had a spare shirt with me because I knew the one that I was wearing would be wet the time I got there or for after the game. And then the Chinese used to call me Mr. Gentleman. Not to my face, like, but they used to say I was a Mr. Gentleman because I had a collar and tie on. But and as you could imagine, you get a ribbon from a few of the other teams that we played because you're warming up before the game, you're meeting them before the game. And I could remember one of them says, "Oh, I think it was with Po Chai, I think it was, or Seiko wanted." He says, "Oh, that's nice. Are you going to a wedding?" I says, "No." I says, "I got this with the last bonus we had when we played you lot," and then just walked away from him. And I never had any bother with that again. But no, Hong Kong was lovely. The wife and kids came out. Kids went to school there. Everything was probably and I've been to America, but it was the safest place I've ever had my kids. You know, you could let them go down to the shops or anything and no problems. Obviously, there was some shady places, but we didn't actually stay in Hong Kong. We stayed in Sim Sha Tsui, which is the Kowloon side, and we had to get the ferry across, Star Ferry.
Yeah. Now you came back. Then you came back to England, played for Burnley, then Swansea. You were one of the oldest players, I think, on record to play for Swansea, weren't you?
Yeah. I played in the Cup Winners' Cup when I was 42.
Wow.
That was a record for a debut in Europe. And we played Panathinaikos because we won the Welsh Cup.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And
then eventually you hung up your boots. You played for Merthyr Tydfil, and then you finished.
Yes, it was really
in Wales.
Yeah, coming to think about it is, well, Kevin will know that Merthyr is very much a mining type place as well. So I'd gone the full circle. You know, I started at the Bluebell on a cinder pitch, and I ended up at Merthyr, which again, all working people, the same pit rows and what have you, and it was home for me, really.
Yeah,
but I enjoyed it. I was in the Valleys for about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, that's an incredible career. I mean, that's nearly 30 years of football.
There's one story. There's one story that Tommy tells about when he was at Swansea that Terry Yorath was the manager there. So obviously, Tommy knew him from his Coventry days. But Tommy had been left out of the first team. You got to remember he's into his 40s now, so he's been left out of the first team, and nothing happens really. But there's a reserve game that week, and Terry Yorath puts the reserve team up on the board. Tommy goes to look at it, and he's not in the reserve team. So Tommy, tell him what happens then when after that.
I went into the knocking door. I says, Gaffer, I said, Terry, I says, can I have a word with you? Aye, and you come, sit down. He says, what's the problem? I says, Terry, I'll tell you when I want to stop playing. You'll not stop me playing. If you're not going to play me in the first team, you're going to play me in the reserves. so that I can play well enough to put pressure on whoever's in the first team. And he just looked at me and he laughed. He says, here's me trying to give you a rest. He says, you're in your 40s. He says, if I tell anybody I had somebody banging on my door to say, why am I not in the team? And I turned around and said to him, how old are you? He says, they'll laugh at me. He says, so. But we did have a few laughs about that. But I was dead serious. I was tamping, you know, because I still felt I was fit enough. You know, the only thing that, well, what made me finish in the end was my fitness. Is that my body, my knees and that began to get a bit achy, but they'd done a few miles.
Yeah.
You still look out for the Coventry results,
Fair
Ken.
enough. Well, we've got to wrap it up, I'm afraid, because we're running a little bit behind. Any more questions from Ian or no?
No, it's been an absolute pleasure, Tom.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be on.
Ian or Martin, any more questions?
Yeah. Well, somebody's asked, do you still keep a lookout for Coventry's results?
Martin?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's
which,
the first.
Which players do you look out for? Which,
Yeah.
She gets fed up with me when it comes up, and I say, "Come on, Cov, come on." And then I get.
Which players do you like to play for Coventry now?
I'm not sure that Tommy would be watching that many games. I think if they're on Sky, then he would watch. But
yeah, somebody asked the question, so I thought I'd put that in. Yeah,
but he knows results and everything.
No, yeah. I look for all the teams I played for, and hopefully they're all doing well. There's none of them that I've any resentment against. I enjoyed my time playing with them all.
Yeah, been a pleasure, Tommy. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, we've got to wrap it up there, chaps. Thank you very much for coming. I want to thank very much to Ian Small. Thanks for joining us, Ian. Fabulous. Martin Cadden, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your input. Kevin Shannon, thank you. And we'll be looking out for you in the forthcoming visit to Coventry. And Tommy Hutch, thank you very much for your honest opinion about Coventry City, etc., and your career.
Can I just mention before we go off,
Kevin,
there's
Kevin,
on Twitter. Oh, sorry. Go on, Tommy.
Kevin, if you could just remember when you're playing that penny whistle, take the gloves off.
Tommy, I play it better with the gloves on.
Go on, Kev, what were you going to say?
Just say that if anybody wants to order the book for a discounted price, Tommy and I are selling them for £18. So if they go on Twitter, this sounds like I know what I'm talking about. These have been set up by my son. If you go on Twitter onto @DazzleHutch, then there's a form on there that you can get. Fill out the form and you can order the book online. So if Ian wanted to order the book online, for example, if you wanted to do that, then we could send it off.
I've already had a message from my son saying he's buying it, me. So
fair enough.
I'll leave well alone.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, my mum's buying it as well.
Fantastic. That's
brilliant. Nice, lovely Christmas present for somebody as well, I'm sure. And of course, you're in Coventry next week. You've got several places you go to. We've put a banner on across the bottom of the screen so everybody knows where they are. We've announced it. So we look forward to probably meeting up with you maybe next week for a chat if we're out and about. Miles, do you want to come in? You got anything to say?
I just want to say it's been an absolute pleasure sitting here. Yeah, absolute pleasure sitting here watching this. It's been superb. The fans, Martin and Ian, brilliant. Tommy, superb. Yeah. I mean, there was loads of questions to get through and we just couldn't get through them all. People saying such a legend and you know, everyone knowing you from when you used to play. Love the question about Hong Kong and the flip-flops. I mean, that's just superb. If you see some of the players now wearing no socks and tight jeans and silly shoes, I mean, you're going mad now, Tommy. And then Kevin, brilliant, mate. I mean, I'd love to read the book. I don't read very much because I'm a little bit dyslexic, but I'll give it a go because what I've just heard there is absolutely superb. And if anyone is going to go and watch Tommy this week and go and get a book signed, I've got a little video again so you can see where he's going to be. And just want to say, brilliant, guys, fantastic. And whoever's watching now, there's going to be another live stream shortly of the review from yesterday. A fantastic 2-0 win at Stoke, 3 away, 3 wins on the bounce. and they're going to preview the Rotherham game. So that'll be Mark, Reese, and Glenn going to be live straight after this. But thanks, Tommy and Kevin and Martin and Ian.
He gets everywhere.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thanks all. And a very
Tommy,
good
can't
night
wait
to you all.
for the
Thank you
movie
very
as well.
much for joining us. You've been listening
Yeah,
to
the
the
movie.
TV. Good night.
Netflix movie.
These are sky blue days. These are sky blue days. The CBS and the SBA will fight to the end and lead the way. Sing out together.